This is Chris. I'm back again with CookBook. I'm here in Pittsburgh. I'm with Scott Silsbe, Chris Collins, Jason Baldinger, Pittsburgh poets down here. We're going to be talking a little bit about some small presses, the Rust Belt, and also traveling as a writer, some of the experiences that these writers have had in the past and what they plan to do in the future. So sit tight, we're going to make some bean dip, and we'll be right back. Thank you. All right, everybody, I'm back with Chris Collins, Scott Silsbe, Jason Baldinger. We're here in Pittsburgh. We're going to make some bean dip. Scott, you got kidney beans here?
Yeah, I've got some kidney beans, 2 cans. I'm going to put them in a food processor, drain some juice first, but put them in a food processor with some onion, green pepper, and cheese.
Okay.
And we're going to blend it all up.
All right. Now, what kind of chips do you usually like with this dip? Or
I like white corn usually. Giant Eagle brand, some product placement.
Okay. Well, there you go. So now, do you have any books coming out soon, or anything planned?
I had one come out last year called Muskrat Friday Dinner, and I pretty much have just finished up a new one that I think Alien Buddha Press is going to do.
Alien Buddha Press? I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they're new, and I think that they want to do it later this year, but we're still kind of working on it.
Okay. So now you're saving the juice here for...
Yeah, just, consistency is something you want to keep a good pulse on. Yeah, so I drain most of the juice, but you want to keep some juice, and I just save it just in case, like, it's a little... it could use a little, if it's a little dry or chunkier, I want to use some. So I've got the beans in there. I use shredded, like, Mexican cheese blend.
Also Giant Eagle.
Also Giant Eagle.
When you on a fucking budget.
So I eyeball this, but it's probably like a half cup or something like that.
Okay. So you're gonna blend that in with the dip then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I'm from the Midwest, so cheese is it's kind of like more the merrier. So
yeah, that's true.
You put cheese in the beans and then you put cheese on top.
Now, I've eaten in the Midwest, and there's a lot of mayonnaise in the dishes up there. Is there mayonnaise in this dish, Scott?
No mayonnaise.
No mayonnaise?
No mayonnaise.
Because I've had sushi with mayonnaise in it.
Have you really?
Yes.
That
It
sounds
was a
terrible.
surprise.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it. But there it was.
So you guys, the three of you, have been friends for how long?
Years.
Over 10 years?
Yeah.
Over
Probably
10
about
years?
a decade or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly met you guys through the New Yinzer, probably around 07.
Yeah.
When I was playing in a band called House of Assassins, they booked me to do one of those New Yinzer shows, or a couple of those New Yinzer shows.
Is the New Yinzer still going? Or?
Nah, not really.
No. Because I know that's how I met you, Chris, and then I eventually met Scott and then Jason. I've come down from Cleveland before, and vice versa. You guys have come up to Cleveland too.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
So how are you planning many more titles with logos, the small press?
We have, I think, 4 or 5 in the works right now. They're in the pipeline. And we just put out the anthology,
Really shows this
Unconditional
week?
Surrender, releases this week on Thursday.
It's on the blog then, that you can order that, or?
Yeah, you can order it on the Logos blog. It's listed on Amazon, so you can get it by ordering through there.
Now I know you were initially publishing mostly Pittsburgh poets and stuff. Have you branched out from that, or?
A little bit.
Yeah.
We've got 2 from Brooklyn.
Yeah. I mean, one of them is a native Pittsburgher, moved to Brooklyn, and the other was a New Yorker who came to Pittsburgh for school and married a native Pittsburgher.
Married into Pittsburgh.
So it's usually people with Pittsburgh ties.
I mean, the way we work in building the manuscripts, it's always better. It's always we prefer to know the people that we can work with in that very kind of intimate way that we work.
Wash your pepper.
So it's best to be on good terms and we can have this kind of conversation about their work.
Yeah.
Since we build the manuscripts, we don't accept manuscripts. We build them with the poets.
Okay.
So that requires a bit of knowing the people.
Some copies there. You want to grab one real quick? What I've always liked about your books, Chris, is the standardization of the design.
The template, so that's the newest one.
Okay.
And
This is the anthology.
That's the
Unconditional
anthology.
Surrender. This is from Logos. Oh, Don Wentworth's in here.
yeah,
Barrett Warner.
It's a
we scored,
beautiful
yeah.
book.
So particularly with the anthology, we were able to branch out a bit more and work with people that we'd like to work with, but we just haven't been able to do a full-length
Okay.
kind of book with. Scotty's book.
Scott, yep. River Underneath the City.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are great. I've always appreciated seeing these books.
So yeah, we wanted them to be stylized, so when you saw them on the shelf, you knew exactly what they were.
Yeah,
where
it's
they
like
were
you
coming
can
from.
identify them real quick.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we wanted to do with those.
So what you added some diced onion there, Scott?
Yeah, and I like Spanish onions, but it could be sweet onion, white onion. It doesn't really matter too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
He ain't onion prejudice, no.
And then yeah, green bell pepper.
Okay.
And that's gonna be pretty much it before we food process it.
Now you're gonna cook this then? Afterwards,
Yeah, I'm gonna
or-
put it in a pan and cook it on the stove. And when I have it on the stove, I'm gonna add a couple spices, but that's gonna be about it.
Okay.
So. Chris, do you know how to work this thing?
Oh, there you go.
So Jason, you're a musician then too, or
Yeah.
musician? So do you play regularly then?
Yeah, we actually, Scott and I are in a band together with Bob Paycheck, who Logos just put out, called Pond Hockey.
Okay.
Our drummer is also a friend of ours that works with them at Caliban,
Okay.
Mark Mangini.
The bookstore, right?
Yeah, the bookstore here in Pittsburgh, the antiquarian show place. Stretch it a little bit, why not? Yeah, so we've been playing together for 2 years and some change now. They've been a band for 3, but I joined after their initial bassist left.
Okay.
And we have a cassette coming out later this year,
Is that true?
potentially.
Announcement.
Potentially.
We have to record the thing
We have to
before we can
finish it, but
set a release date.
Well, we don't have a release date, but potentially this year there will be a cassette, potentially called The Age of Anxiety.
Not going to make that BBT.
I don't think so. I don't
No,
think we'll have the tape out before the BBT closes.
So, and we're also, you're doing a residency in Missouri. That's
I am.
right.
Osage County Artist in Residence.
Okay.
I will be there for the bulk of April.
Okay,
Couple of
that's
weeks.
that's just near the Ozarks. You were telling
Yeah,
me?
foothills of the Ozarks on the Gasconade River.
Okay.
Like 3 hours from Kansas City, 2.5 from St. Louis. So
Okay.
if you know where Joplin or Rolla or any of those little tiny towns that nobody really cares about are,
Okay.
you know, Cape Girard, it's near there.
And we were talking earlier about how much traveling you've done
Yeah.
for writing and stuff like that, and just sightseeing and meeting people. Chris, you don't have much experience with that, or
With traveling?
with traveling as a poet, or
So I've done a little bit. I mean, mostly with these guys. I've been in Cleveland with 6 Gallery Press, and then back to Cleveland with them for
Yeah.
your reading series,
Choose,
and then we were all out in
Bill.
Kansas City together for the Throwdown last year.
Yeah.
Which was
yeah,
pretty
that's-
amazing
I've heard good
experience.
things about Kansas City.
It was an intense experience.
It was.
It's a lot of poetry. That's
Yeah.
a lot of poetry.
It's like a week-long thing, isn't it?
On the weekend.
Long
Weekend.
Long
It's a
weekend.
weekend
Okay.
of just constant
Poetry.
and
Yeah.
Non-stop
24
poetry.
hours,
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they're changing the format a little bit this year. It'll be in October, and I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I don't know if they're spacing it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's some different people handling it this time, though, and yeah, curious to see what they do. And if money happens the right way, maybe I'll be able to make it back down again. So.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I've done readings in Baltimore.
Ready
Just
for it?
around.
We're ready for the stove. I don't know
Alright.
if you.
Well, let's see here. We'll go ahead and we'll let you fire up.
All right.
So we're firing up the bean dip here. It's got peppers, onions, cheese, kidney beans, and what spices are you adding, Scott?
So I'm adding chili powder and adobo seasoning.
Adobo.
Yeah, you can get, there are different
wanna make a stick
brands
there.
of this,
So
but
bad.
I like these spicy Penzi spices
Got that.
Okay.
a lot. So
Now, do you use any
Thank
cumin
you.
or anything with
Thank
that?
you.
Or?
there's cumin in the adobo
Okay,
seasoning.
cool.
So
Okay.
yep.
All right. Now, you want to get this kind of bubbling, or just kind of melt it up and
Yeah,
together?
just melt the cheese, and it'll like change color a little bit, especially once we add some spices to it. So
That is pretty. That's pretty colorful, actually.
Yeah.
With the green beans in
Oh,
there.
okay. These
Yeah.
are our choices
Yeah.
so far.
So far.
Okay.
So yeah, we just wanna cook them up and get the spices in there, and
Miles Brodigan Collins.
eventually I'll grab a spoon and check on, see
Yeah.
how it's tasting.
Oh, okay.
So while I have you over here, and
Yeah.
and we're cooking this.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of traveling have you done, Scott, with the poetry and?
So yeah, I went to the Kansas City Throwdown, which was a great experience. And I've done, like one-offs here and there. I've come up to Cleveland with you,
Yeah.
and Jason and I went to Toledo recently, and that was a good experience too. When the Muskrat book came out, I tried to promote it a little bit by doing readings here and there. So I did.
What press was that again?
That's on White Gorilla Press.
White Gorilla. Okay.
Yeah, and so once that came out last year, I tried to get around a little bit. So we read in Philly.
Yeah.
We read in Cleveland at RA's Guide to Culture.
Guide to Culture. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. We read in Jersey at a little library.
Yeah, and Keyport.
Yep. And we took part in an open mic in New York City. What was that place called?
The Parkside Lounge.
Yeah, Parkside
George
Wallace.
Wallace.
Yeah.
Okay.
Puts
Yeah.
that
I know
together.
George, yeah.
Yep.
It's a hell of an open mic, so. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I've done some traveling.
How important do you think it is to the writing itself to travel?
I've mused on that, and I think it's good. I especially think it's great to connect with other writers in different scenes. That's what I thought was really cool about the Throwdown. Like getting to meet writers like William Taylor Jr. out in San Francisco, who I didn't know before.
Bill Gaynor.
Bill Gaynor, who's another California guy. That was the first time I met R.A. Washington, who's up in Cleveland.
Yeah,
so I had to go all the way out to Kansas City to meet a guy from Cleveland. But
Right.
still, it was great seeing him, meeting him. So anyway, I think it's really good in that sense to connect with other writers. And it's good to get your get
that
your
experience out there.
yeah, and to get your words out there a little bit. Spread whatever gospel you're preaching. For me, the gospel of the muskrat. But
Now, if there were like a younger poet or less established one viewing this, what would you recommend to them for booking a venue or
Patience.
yeah, patience is a virtue. But it's to me, it's all about you just gotta find people that you can connect with.
Yeah.
And once you have those connections with other poets, things really kind of fall into place because you just kind of start going hey, if you ever want to come out to Pittsburgh, we can set something up for you, and it gets reciprocated. And so for me that's really essential, is just making connections however you can with poets and other scenes. So start publishing in magazines and blogs and whatever. And thanks.
Chris Collins hand?
And looking for other people that you feel like you have similar styles to, and start corresponding with them, and just kind of making friends in different communities, and that kind of leads to readings and whatnot.
Okay.
So.
All right, so we're back here with Scott. He's got his bean dip season. It's cooked off. I really like the way he incorporated the peppers and onions before he cooked everything together. So this is a hot dip. It's got some cheese in it. And Jason has some chips for us to try it with.
Yep.
Well, chips, spoons, drips,
All right. Mr.
chickens.
Scott. Chef Scott, I should say.
Chickens, man.
Give it a taste.
Yeah,
Muy caliente.
not bad. You want to try?
It's hot. It's good. It's spicy. I like it.
It's good, it's hot, it's spicy, he likes it. Dive in here.
It's definitely good bean dip. Better than any artichoke dip I've had. Thank you. We'll be right back. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk to them a little bit more. Chris Collins, Jason Baldinger, and Scott Silsbe down in the basement. All right. Thank you. All right. So we're back here. We're in Pittsburgh. We're talking to Pittsburgh poets. As you can see, we have a nice beach area here that we're at. It's a bar on the beach. We're in Pittsburgh.
You also now have the key to a lot of poems. You know,
Yes,
this beach shows
inspiration.
up
Yep.
in several Silsbe and Collins poems.
So I thought I'd take a
Mine
minute.
too. I can't remember.
I thought I'd take a minute to sit down and talk to these guys and just kind of see where the inspiration for their work comes and talk about some of their work that they have with them. Jason, this is Fumbles Revelations.
Yes.
Now this is from Don Wentworth.
Yeah, his Grackle and Crow imprint. I believe it's the only thing he's put out so far. You might be doing something in the future.
Yeah, he's got a new series coming up, a 5-poem series.
Okay, and he's another Pittsburgh poet then, for those who
Yeah.
aren't aware of it.
Pittsburgh by way of Jersey.
Yes, very much so.
Yep.
Yeah, I have dabbled with short poems before, and you know, living in a city with Don being the guru of short poems, you long to be in
Yeah,
Lilliput
he used to
Review.
run was it the attic or what was that?
No,
No, he used to run a website.
Lilliput Review.
Lilliput Review.
Oh,
is his deal.
Yeah.
Maybe the Aces tidy.
Oh,
Aces.
Untidy Hut.
Yeah.
Aces,
This is that's
Maybe
what
that's
it
what
was.
it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just
It's alright. So yeah, I managed to get a couple of poems in Lilliput, but being, you know, when you write short poems, what do you do at that point in time? You send them to Don and ask if these are any good, and I
Okay.
sent Don a bunch after Kansas City last year, and it quickly turned into this little book.
Okay.
So nothing there is over 14 lines, and
Wow.
most everything there is actually 3 to 5, so.
So was that a challenge for you to do that, to write like that? Or?
It's something that, you know, short poems are like flashes. They come like that. And there's always, I guess, an urge to maybe try and make them into something more, but sometimes 3 lines is all something needs to be.
Right.
Chris understands brevity as well as any of us in that regard, so. Yes! That was a disapproving.
Yes.
Now, Chris, you've got a book here. This is Hyacinth Girl Press, correct? This is your new
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, so that's Salsa Night at Hilo Town Tavern on Hyacinth Girl Press, which is run by Margaret Bashar and Sarah Reck,
Okay.
local writers and artists. That just came out late last year. That's when it came out.
This is nice. I like the design on this. She hand binds all her stuff, doesn't she?
She does, yeah, and each copy has different end papers, which I really appreciate. Every copy has a different end paper to it. And those designs are very nice.
Okay.
I was very happy with how much.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So where did
Poems
your
are really good too.
Oh yeah. Where did you get the
It's not quite
inspiration
design.
for Salsa Night? Where was the inspiration? Is it?
I was actually at a salsa night at Hilo Town Tavern. It's,
Okay.
Hilo is on the Big Island in Hawaii,
Okay.
which my wife Anna, you met earlier. She's an ecologist and she was doing work on the Big Island.
Okay.
I went down there and I stayed with her for a week while she was doing that, and spent a lot of time at the Hilo Town Tavern.
Just
Very
watching.
fine, enjoyable place. We were down there for St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patrick's Day in Hawaii is an experience everyone should have.
Yeah.
It's an entire week.
Oh,
I had no idea. that St. Patrick's
St.
Day in
Patrick's
Hawaii
Week.
was-
St. Patrick's Week in
was
Hawaii.
insane, but it was pretty amazing.
Okay.
So yeah, I spent time at the Hilo Town Tavern, and like these guys here, I have a soft spot for bars and pubs and
Right.
dives and all that. So yeah, I'd been writing a lot about music and family, and it kind of came together with that book.
Okay. Now you also write for the paper, or a couple of papers down here.
Yeah, I'm the books editor for Pittsburgh Magazine, so I do a monthly column for them,
Okay.
and I occasionally write book reviews for the Post-Gazette.
So what kind of difference do you see between the work you do for the paper and your poetry? I mean, what kind of, is it a glaring difference, or is it like
Well, one is prose.
well, I know.
That's pretty glaring.
Yeah, that's pretty
Definitely
glaring. I mean,
stand
like, as far as like inspiration and, you know, like emotional
I get paid
investment.
for
Like,
paper.
That's
That's also inspiration.
well, I mean, honestly, that's, I mean, I'm a chef, so I mean, I consider myself a prose writer too, but it, you know, the chef does pay my bills, so.
Yeah, what I appreciate both about the Post-Gazette, the work I've done for them, and I've been writing for them for maybe close to 15 years now,
Mhm.
and Pittsburgh Magazine, maybe 8, 10 years? I don't know how long I've been doing that for them, I've lost track, but what I really appreciate is both of them have given me plenty of leeway, which has allowed me to focus on small press writers
Okay.
more than
As far as
more
content.
commercial
Yeah, okay.
work that has come out. I mean, I do that too. I think you have to kind of be get a bit from all around: sports writing, prose, poetry, fiction,
Okay.
memoirs, and all that stuff. I like to review, but both the paper and the magazine have been very supportive about allowing me to focus on small press writers.
Okay.
But
And that's been great.
But would you say, like, the inspiration to write a poem, it's a different kind of inspiration than
It's a
writing your reviews?
very different thing. I spend a lot more time working on a review. Poetry, like Jason was saying, it's what I like about poetry is that it's a moment,
Mhm.
and certainly the inspiration of a poem can be a moment. And the writing of the first draft is about that moment of inspiration. Whereas with a review, it's spending a lot of time thinking about another writer's work,
Mhm.
and spending a lot of time living in that kind of headspace.
Okay.
So yeah, the poetry, where I find time to write poetry is kind of the O'Hara model of lunch poems. Is that's when I have time.
That's
I
what
can
you get
kind
to.
of write on my lunch breaks, and that's
Yeah.
where most of my writing gets done.
Okay.
In bars on lunch breaks.
In Pittsburgh.
If it happens, yes.
All right. So Scott, you've got another book here too. You've got Muskrat Friday Dinner.
Yep.
Okay. And this is from
White Girl.
White Gorilla. That's right.
Yep.
White Gorilla Press. Now, what was the inspiration for this collection? You think, or besides muskrats?
Yeah, it's a mix of things because you know poems there's a range of topics, but there's a bunch of drinking poems in there.
Okay.
Just, I guess with that I kind of wanted to have like kind of entertaining, fun, good time poems.
All right.
So there's
Yeah.
some of that. There's some like love poetry, relationship poems. There's some work poems.
So it's a good mix of.
Yeah, it's a mix of stuff.
What
Yeah.
was the original title of this collection?
Wine, women, and song.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because then there are some music poems in there
Oh,
too.
okay.
But I think there's a running thread about family too.
Okay.
There's some. It's pretty autobiographical. So like
Right.
my dad kind of shows up in a bunch of the poems in there.
Awesome.
So yeah, a mix of things. Just I think really inspired just by living.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, I can see here in your bio it says works as a bookseller and is a regular at the beach.
Which is where we are.
Yes.
So it makes sense now.
Welcome to the beach.
It's all coming together.
The other photo is taken.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
this was taken.
I'm slamming a bottle of champagne on your wedding day,
That was
right?
my wedding day.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that photo was taken on my wedding day.
Jeez.
I
So-
think it's Crown Royal.
Oh, Crown Royal? I couldn't remember the bottle, so I remember the moment, blurrily. Blurrily? Yeah, that'll work.
It
Um,
was blurry.
So real quick, just to kind of do a generalization, what kind of stuff do you guys would you recommend for people working with small presses as poets, as the different venues that you guys have found for yourselves, for each other, just a kind of a broader statement,
I mean, there's always that moment where you're, as a poet or as a writer, you're looking to find the tribe, the people,
Yeah, your people,
that you work with. Obviously, we all touch on very similar aspects. Growing up in Pittsburgh, growing up in Detroit, growing up in the Rust Belt, you see the world a very specific way, especially growing up in the Rust Belt at the times that we did, because everything here was dying at that point. So that makes an impression on you. But yeah, I think you just keep banging your head against the wall until you find the people that make sense or
make you happy.
Yeah, you know, we find, you know, we've managed to, over the course of the last couple of years, find that this isn't just a Pittsburgh scene, and it's not just a regional scene. There's now, you know, all these little pockets nationally, whether it be Kansas City or Cringeworthy Press in Buffalo, or some of the folks in Philly like Paul Siegel, you know, all the West Coast and Long Beach guys, whether it be R.A. Armstrong or R.D. Armstrong, I'm sorry, and Bill Taylor and Bill Gaynor. There are all these small pockets of underground, outlaw American poetry, outlaw in quotes perhaps.
Are you wanted?
Well, I have gotten a cease and desist recently, so why not?
So, Chris, how would you add to that?
I think if you're a young writer, a young poet in particular, you need to figure out what you want out of it. I think it's easy to have sort of a starry-eyed idea of what's the poetry scene is like, or what you're going to get out of it. Like, all I have to do is publish my book, and it'll be great, and more things will happen. And it's always a work in progress, and you know, you have to know what kind of compromises you want to make as far as working with a publisher or touring or whatever. Everything, you know, I think the goal has to be, I want to write a good poem. Every time out, that has to be the primary goal of whatever you're doing. Everything else is icing.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as touring, publishing, any of that stuff is, I feel, should be secondary to your intent to write good poems.
Yeah, because that's what
once you're doing that, be aware of your community.
Yeah.
Get out and meet some people.
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot.
The support and everything. Yeah.
The support
the
and
feedback.
And learning about yourself. You don't, you know, I wrote for years and never did readings until Scott and I were doing the New Yinzer together, and then it kind of became necessary to do some readings to promote that magazine. And what I've learned is I've learned a lot about myself and how to present poetry, how to communicate your thoughts and what you want an audience to receive. Working from the stage helps a lot. You get to see it firsthand immediately. What works, what doesn't.
Reactions.
But at the same time, you can also become too enamored with that.
With the show of it.
With the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have to figure out where that balance is for you, and that depends on what you want.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
How about you, Scott? What do you think?
Yeah, I think probably I'm just going to be rephrasing what they already said. But first of all, I think you just need to like do the work to like get yourself to where you're writing good poems. And so that means just like writing a lot, and cranking stuff out, and you know, not being like enamored with just like where you're at, but like
not isolated.
Keep writing, keep trying, do the work to like get where you're writing work that could, you know, mean something to somebody else. And then second of all, find your community, whether it's locally, like, you know, we have a good community here, and you know, we are able to read regularly with writers that we admire, or a larger one like we were talking about with, you know, people on the national scene that you really get along with and you know, have a similar headspace with, and you can, you know, write letters, emails, whatever.
Write anything.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, just not being afraid to contact other writers at the same point in time.
You make phone calls in the middle of the night to people.
That's right.
I mean, that was
from a phone booth somewhere in America.
Yeah, exactly. It happens.
So. Sounds like a great series of poems, actually. I'm calling you from Galax, Virginia, and I'm drunk. Tell me about this.
My phone booth sequence.
That's right. So real quick, I'm going to wrap up here. We've got Muskrat Friday dinner from Scott Silsbe, White Gorilla Press, Salsa Night at Hilo Town Tavern, Chris Collins from Hyacinth Girl, and then we've also got Jason Baldinger, Fumbles Revelations. This is from Crackle and Crow.
Yep.
Don Wentworth. You've got some other books here too.
Yep.
But I appreciate everyone that's been watching. I appreciate everyone that's been listening to this conversation. We'll be back next month with AWP.
I'm excited.
You guys are totally throwing it off.
You're the one that said we weren't excited.
I mean, we can be exciting if you want.
You guys are excited. You guys are excited.
Are you sure?
Alright,
This is gonna have to be out. Totally
All right.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Before I hit the zipper, huh?
Let's eat some bean dip.